here, and today I've got a tutorial for you about how to use a super cool program called Inkscape. So it's completely free and open use, and it's very similar to Adobe Illustrator if you've ever seen that or used that before. And so we are going to be making a puffin or penguin, whatever your preference is, out of some simple shapes today. We're going to be referencing this toucan image that I pulled off of an internet image as our reference, and we're going to just go through a few of the basic tools that Inkscape has to offer. Now, when you open Inkscape, you're going to see a screen that has some settings, and you can just click Save, and then the next screen will say you can either open an image from your files, or you can open a new document. You're going to want to click on New Document. So once you've got your blank artwork up, you're going to go to File and Import, and then it's going to bring you to your files, your Finder window if you're on a Mac, and you're just going to scroll through and grab that image that you need. As you can see here, I have a lot of files, but once you get that image, you're going to click on it and hit Open, and make sure that you want it embedded, not a link. A link is just going to give you a string of text. You want to be able to see that image. And once that's all good, you're going to hit OK. Resize that image as needed and drag it off to the side of your artboard. So I just want to orient you with a few things in Inkscape before we get started. On the right-hand side is going to be a lot of your quick controls that you can use to help keep yourself organized and change colors. So this little tab right here with the three blue and white rectangles is our layers. And so as you can see, we've got one layer right now. It's just the two images that we have uploaded. And so if I want to not do anything else with this layer, I can lock it. And that means nothing is going to happen when I click on these images. I can't make any changes to them. I can't really do anything to them until I unlock it. Another thing that you can do with your layers is hide them. The eye will close, or show them and the eye will open. And so those are really the only two things you need to know. It's important that you keep all of your objects on separate layers so that you can isolate them and work with them individually if you need to. And so to create a new layer, you're going to come over to this rectangle with the green plus sign and just click it. And you can give your layer a name. So I'm going to give this layer background and position above current. Yep, that works for me. And we're going to click add. So we've got a background. I'm going to give us kind of a creamy gray background because puffins are white and I don't want our puffin to blend into the screen. And so a really easy way to make a background is to come over to your toolbar on the left side, and you're going to click this pink rectangle. And if you hover over any one of these objects, you will get a quick description of what each object is and what it can do. And so there's a lot here. We're only going to be working with a few today. So back to our background. We're going to click on the rectangle, and you can see a little cursor pops up. And let's make that a different color so you guys can see. And so you can make all different sizes of rectangles by dragging, pulling, left to right, up, down, anything like that. To change the color of our rectangle, we've got a few options. We can either come down here, and we've got a nice generic color bar with mostly warm colors, it looks like, and some bright colors. Or we can go back into our right-hand side quick toolbar and come over to this paintbrush tool, and you'll see fill and stroke pops up. And so the fill of an object is what's inside of this rectangle when I create it. And so you can see that it's filled with red. The stroke is going to be the border. And so if I want to change the stroke, I move over to the stroke paint tab and I can change these colors here. So now we're going to make our rectangle roughly the size of our canvas, our digital canvas. If it's a little bit bigger, that's okay, not a big deal. So I'm personally not a big fan of this red, and so I'm going to tone it down a little bit. And we've got a few different ways of navigating our color wheel. We've also got some different color schemes here. I'm just going to leave it the way it is because this is probably one of the easier ways to go. And so now I think we're just going to make a nice gray. We'll pull this color up to lighten it, and then we can make it more neutral, maybe make it a little bit darker. There we go. I think I like that. And then if you want to change the hue, you can also pull and it spins the triangle. And so there you go. Pretty straightforward. Alrighty, so now we've got our rectangle. We're going to go back to our layers and we're going to lock this layer so that we can't do anything else with it. It's just the way it is. Our next layer is going to be the base of the puffin body. And so we're going to create a new layer again. And we can rename it if we want to. Rename layer, say body. And now we're going to start to use some different shapes. So for this one, I'm going to use a circle, the ellipse tool. And again, I'm going to change the color. And I think for the body, I want to have a nice basic black because puffins have black and white bodies. And so you can tell that the ellipse tool is working when you see a little circle pop up or an ellipse on your screen. And it's the same idea as the rectangle tool does. If you drag it, it's going to form different sizes and kind of widths of an ellipse. And so we're going to match roughly the size and shape of this oval on the toucan's body, but we're going to make it in the opposite direction. And so I'm going to pull it out to about there. It looks about good. And then we're going to go back to our mouse tool. And you can see now that this oval has arrows around it where you can make it larger, make it smaller, make it flatter, kind of the same thing as the ellipse tool. But I don't want to make it any bigger or flatter than what it is now. I want to turn it. And so to do that, you're just going to press on this circle a second time. And now the arrows are curved. Now you can rotate it around an axis. And so we're going to rotate it about to there, pull it up here, call that good. Alrighty, we'll lock that layer. And now the next thing we're going to focus on is the puffin's head. And again, we're going to do the same sort of shape that the toucan has going on in its body. We're going to make another layer. We're going to call it the head. Add that layer. And so now we're going to use our circle ellipse tool again. We're going to pull out this circle, but instead of leaving it as a full circle, we need to make it into a hemisphere. And to do that, we're going to go up to this little circle on the top here, and we're going to pull. And now this kind of works like you're eating a pizza. So when you start to pull to the right, you lose pretty much all of the pizza. You only have one slice left. As you pull down, you get more slices. So I want it to be about half. That looks good to me. Now we're going to go back to our mouse tool and we're going to rotate. Oops. And we're also going to make this a bit bigger. And now another tip I have for resizing shapes, if you don't want the dimensions of the shape to change, so for example, we've got this hemisphere here. When I resize it, I can make it wider or skinnier. Nothing stays the same. But with this one, I want it to stay the same. And so I'm going to go up here. These are my dimensions. They don't really matter too much to me, but what does matter is this little lock tool right here. If I click lock and resize, now it resizes proportionally. And so the ratio will stay the same. And so that's a little helpful trick for when you are resizing. Alrighty, now we are going to make the second hemisphere. And we're going to use that same trick of resizing. proportionally, and so we'll drag it down. We're going to change it to white, maybe an off-white. That looks nice. This time you can see here that the stroke is still black, and so to change that, we're going to go back into our fill and stroke toolbar. You're going to go to stroke paint. Make sure that you have your object selected. And down here you can see that the stroke is black. We want to pull that up to white. And that's going to change our stroke. There we go. That looks great. All right, and now we're going to take this hemisphere and line it up with our other hemisphere. This is going to create that cute little puffin black and white face shape that they have going on. That looks great. All right. And now we are going to make the eyes. So for that, we need a new layer. Make sure you label your layer. And I'm going to lock the head so that when I'm working with the eyes, nothing is going to change. I'm going back to this ellipse tool, and I'm going to go ahead and change the color just to make sure that we don't have any blending going on. Okay, and now to make a perfect circle, you're going to hold down the control key. So Mac users, don't be fooled, this isn't the command key, it is the control key on your keyboard. And we're going to just pull, and it definitely takes a second, but you have to just kind of be pulling in the same direction here. And so that looks about good. Now we do have that weird line again from the stroke, and so back to our stroke and fill toolbar, and we're going to bring that down to black, and that line goes away. We're going to repeat that step 2 more times with the circle to create the effect of the bird's iris. There we go. Now we have a cute little eyeball, and we can kind of start to see the face of our puffin emerging. Awesome. So I'm going to kind of speed through the next steps of the beak. I'm going to put myself in time lapse, but as you can see here, it is 2 things that we already know how to make. It's semicircles and a square. And so remember, to make a square, you're going to hold down control. Remember how to make those semicircles, and if you need to pause the video at any time, feel free. And so we are back. I've gotten the beak done to match the shape of the toucan's beak, and I put a little foot in, kind of like a flipper. It's just very simple, and again, it's just a semicircle the same way that we made the head. And so now our last few steps, I think I want to give this guy a wing, or maybe a tail. And now to do that, I'm actually going to use a different tool. I'm going to use my pen tool, which is down here. Now this tool lets you draw in zigzags and curves. You can make all sorts of different shapes. And when you connect them, they fill themselves in and they become a new shape, which is awesome. So there's a lot of nuance with this tool, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to keep it very simple. We're again going to make a new layer. We're going to call this tail. Oops. And if I look up here, the shape of a puffin's tail is kind of just like a loopy triangle. It's a triangle with some curves to it. And so I'm going to try and mimic that same sort of thing. Now I'm going to get my color dropper tool going here so that I have black ink to work with as I begin to draw. And I'm going to start inside of the lines of the circle, or the oval that we've already made. There will be a little overlap, and that's just fine. Now to create a curvy line, if you come out to about where you want your tail to end, you're going to hold and drag. Let me show that one more time. Hold and drag, and that curves it. And now as you can see here, we've got that continuation of the curvy line going. It's going to give us a cute little kind of curvy triangle. We're going to follow that down here and then connect back. And now we have a curvy tail. It does have a weird outline with that stroke, and so we're going to go back to our toolbar and fill that stroke paint in with black. Oop. There we go. Alrighty, so our puffin now has a super cute tail. Look at that. Love it. Love it. Awesome. And I think the last thing I want to do is give him a little white belly, because obviously puffins have white bellies. And so we'll make one more layer and we'll call it belly. Awesome. And I'm going to use that pen tool again. Now, if this doesn't work for you the first time, it's just kind of a trial and error sort of thing. And eventually it'll start to make more sense, and it is a very handy tool when you get the hang of it. You feel good with it, you're all done with it, you're going to go back up to File, click on Export, and it's going to pop up in the tab where we've been working with our layers and our fill and stroke tool. You're going to want to make sure that you stay on page. If you go to Selection, you're going to export a document with your reference photos on it and anything that you've been working with off to the side. Probably not what you want. And so we're going to go back to page. Down here, you can rename your file. I'm going to name it Puffin Awesomeness. And you can also see which folder it's going to. I think I'm going to put it in my desktop folder. And we'll just put it in artwork for now. And we'll hit save. And so that way you know exactly where it's going. And you can find it in your files folder after you're done. And then you can also choose what type of file to export as. I would say JPEGs and PNGs are the easiest to open, but there's a wide range of documents you can open from. So I'm going to do mine as a JPEG. And just leave the image size and the height the way it is. DPI, this is like resolution. You can bump it up if you want. I don't have a strong preference, so that's kind of more of a personal choice. And then once you have everything set the way you want it, you're going to hit export, and that is done. And so now I'm going to find it, and you can pull it up and it looks just like our artwork did in Inkscape. And so feel free to share this, post it, print it. You can do all of those things, and I hope this tutorial was helpful and that you learned something new, and continue to try out Inkscape because there is so many things that you can do with this awesome program. Thank you so much.